Hello and welcome to another episode of Marketing Cheat Codes. I'm your host, Ed Brialt, also CMO of Aprimo. I'm really excited to have somebody on the pod today who has two words that I really like, digital and asset, in their title, and that's Jennifer Dawson. Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. And really excited to catch up with you. I've heard some amazing stories of how you're doing a lot of digital asset transformation at St. Jude Children's Hospital. You've been there for 20 years. But can you tell us a little bit about you? I know your career didn't probably start where it is today. Take me back a little bit to the beginning. Your career arc would be awesome. And I know a lot of it had to do with content, which is just something that really excited to bring to the surface today with you.
Right. Well, I started thinking about it once I got into asset management. Like my bachelor's degree is in photography, art history, and digital journalism. So I've already got the photo and assets. I've got the archival and then the computers, which was not my intention at all. So I was a fine art photographer for many, many years. And then I started working at St. Jude as the E6 and C41 darkroom tech. And then they were like, oh, she knows how to use Photoshop, because I used to be a head photographer. So then they were like, well, this transformation's coming. We switched about the year 2000 to digital when it wasn't quite there yet. But
wait, so the world wasn't always digital?
No, it was very analog.
I think we forget that quite a bit. Analog. What does that world of non-digital analog look and feel like?
Well, now it looks really daunting because we have to digitize images from 1960 or a little before 1960 to now, or to 2000. So that's extremely daunting because we already have 6.5 million assets that we're currently migrating over to Aprimo right now. So it's going to be another big project, but we're going to worry about that after go live for the entire institution.
Wow. Yeah. So before digital, that was a thing. And now, I like how you described that. It's like you had the technology, the photography, the design, all of these capabilities that come together in this world of digital asset management. You didn't just start there, but you grew over time with that. Mm-hmm. How did you start to layer on your skill sets over time?
Well, basically, for 20 years, 18 years, I was the digital imaging specialist. So I was the power user. I knew how to search like customers. I knew how to search like a photographer. And that is one thing I do love, is I love to find things for people. Like if you want to buy a car, I'll find you the best price. Like, yeah. I'll get it shipped to you. I'll get the fee waived. Like, I love to do research and I love to find things for people. So that kind of got me really into like digging deep into our catalog. And then as time went on, our former digital asset coordinator was the former title position. He kind of would like open it up a little bit, because I would be like, hey, this is spelled wrong, or this isn't that kid's name, and this date is wrong, and this number doesn't match this number. So he was just kind of like, let me go for it, to be his extra set of eyes, So then he retired 2 weeks notice, and they were like, you're doing this now. So then I'm like freaking out. I'm like, I got to learn all about this. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm reading blogs. And I'm like, wait, I already do this.
Right.
I just didn't know the terminology and everything. I was just like, I've been doing this. Like, it's just taking it to another level to where I need to do, the back end and know the software top to bottom, which I'm still doing with our new system. As you know, it's very robust. Yeah. And so that's how it just kind of ended up in my lap. And I like it. I love it.
That's awesome. I've heard that before too, which is like, I didn't realize this was all digital asset management, which is, a strategy for content. and yeah, you were doing it the whole time, and it came together. And
Mhm.
then this state of the business happened, and naturally you were the fit for that. And so what's interesting is digital asset management, a strategy for organizations. There's you said words like in there like search and find and access. And I saw other presentations you've done around governance. There's all these different dimensions of content for, especially a brand with a mission such as yours, where you have to be ultimately, I'll call it content accountable
Mhm.
in the process. And do you mind actually? I think St. Jude has an amazing mission statement. I love going back to like the why and mission statements. Do you care
Mhm.
if I just read like 2 lines of it real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's well, obviously I have to put a link in here, but the mission of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is to advance cures, the means of prevention for pediatric catastrophic diseases
Mhm.
through research and treatment, consistent with the vision of our founder, Danny Thomas. And this is beautiful. No child is denied treatment based on race, religion, or a family's ability to pay. And the mission needs storytelling. The mission needs media. The mission needs to be told. And then in doing so, the media uses patience in the process.
Mhm.
Um, I just think that's like a line of, I'll call it best in class content strategy that needs managed. And you're powering that. What are some of the uniquenesses of what you have to do with content that maybe other industries wouldn't appreciate as much as you do every day?
Right. And that is one thing that I think of all the time is like everything we do is archival. It's historical.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first non-segregated hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Danny Thomas was like, "No, we're not turning any child away." Like one of his mission statement was, "No child shall die in the dawn of life." So we all keep that in mind. I can't even watch our commercials,
Yeah, they're beautiful.
and I mean, yes, they're wonderfully made because some people, my department does some. So um, we and that is my main mission is to keep that historical part and archival part, but also we have PHI in our information. We have the patient's name. We have to have consent. We have the HIPAA laws. We have compliance. And that's my main job to me is to protect that history and to protect our patients because they're the reason why we're all here.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I've been here 22 years.
Yeah. Wow. That is deeply connected to, I'm always looking for like that content connection to mission. And what you do, you actually have your patients in the media to do
Hmm.
um, the storytelling that you need to do. Um, and let's talk about how content manifests itself into the experiences that you put in market. The the supply chain of content for what you do. How does from the creation of ideas to the creation of content to that endpoint experience? What does the content operations behind St. Jude's look like? Sort of at a high level that you'd have to follow.
Yeah, it'd have to be very high level because there's a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, absolutely. We could have several podcasts on this
We could
topic.
talk a long time about
Yeah.
that. Basically, well, we have ALSAC, which is the fundraising and awareness arm for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And so they generate fundraising materials. And so then you come over to hospital side in my department, which is strategic communications and education outreach. So we have patient education. We have together.org, which is an amazing patient education website. We use pictures of procedures of medical knowledge, that it's explains what's happening to you, what nutrition you need to have. And so we've got tons of content for that. We also have PR. We are obviously on LinkedIn, on, I think, yeah, TikTok and Insta and Facebook. Like it's, because we have just so many programs for our kids and the fundraising side and scientists publishing papers and posters, and doing lectures all over the world, and several satellite. I mean, we have a global pediatric um, department. You know, we have a hospital affiliate in Lebanon. So it's, it's a constant flow of information through our department for sure.
Yeah. So that constant flow, it sounds like I like to talk about this idea of like the 4 V's of content, and they're hard to manage: volume, variety, velocity, veracity, like the truth in content. Like content is the ultimate like truth maker. So when you think about that content operations, the volume aspect, you're dealing with a lot of assets.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find yourself managing the volume right now? Is it obviously technology's helping you, but what are some of the, I'll call it cheat codes within management of volume through that operation you just mentioned that you really need to, that you tackle on a day to day?
Right. Well, it's kind of like, I've got 2 swim lanes right now because I have a legacy dam, and then we're constantly adding content to the new dam. So I've got photographers uploading hundreds of images every day, headshots, group shots, our Pause at Play therapy dog program. I mean, construction, because we're growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So I try to release as many as possible because I'm reviewing the metadata first. Our photography staff puts it in. I review it. I release it.
I love what you said there. You review the metadata first. It's like the hygiene on the
Yeah.
front end of metadata plus asset, then goes into system of records.
Right. And then, and then I can release it to whoever requested it, because right now we're live in my department. We have about 90 people, but we're growing so fast. We may have added people while I was on vacation last weekend, and then also at the conference. So it's just a constant flow, and we've barely gotten our graphic design department in on it yet. They're uploading assets. Our video department's uploading assets. Medical content, our writers are going to be adding it soon. I mean, which their things are a lot more self-managed than mine because they're going to be embargoed. Just release whenever that press release comes out or whenever that announcement comes out. But it's mainly the photography right now. We have just so many assets, and you can quick turn photography much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Graphic design project can take months, but photography, some projects last months and months, but, studio shot, it's one day. So I got to make sure I go in and people can see their things and pick it and download it themselves, which takes an extra onus off of me for having to find something, download it, work it up, and then send it to them through email. And then you email back and forth all day. And that's just a really old fashioned way of working.
Absolutely. And now you talked about huge volumes, and the other thing which is consistent, which is content's being added every day.
Mm-hmm.
Did you mention it's about 10 million assets and counting, or what's the volume dimension that you could guess?
Right now it's a 6.5 we're trying to migrate, but we have also those other 4 million assets that we're trying to figure out when, what phase to put those in, or do we even put them in? Like,
Right.
Is anyone going to request this down the line other than a creative or a marketer or a communicator? So that's a really good question, but there's around 10 million plus because they're scattered all over people's hard drives and external drives. We have another DAM that we share with Alsac, so we have stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
An admin's desktop downstairs. Probably she may have a folder of PowerPoint images they like, or I, we just don't know because we haven't had to have this much granular control over it, because our old DAM, it was just you got permission to use it. We had about 300 users,
Mm-hmm.
and about 60 power users. And then now it's going to be the whole institution. So there's about 6,000 people that could potentially just log in, grab PowerPoint images if they need them, or look for their photo shoot they had for feeding tube insertion. We do a lot of instructional photos and videos too. So it's just hard to say. And plus, since it's so much is being added every day, I don't have a really firm number.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's variable and growing, but I think
Mhm.
what you're hitting on is an awesome digital asset management cheat code. It's that decision-making process of, does it go in? Do we carry it forward or not?
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've got like a set of criteria. You rattled off some, which is it, will this be used again? Is it intellectual property that we want to manage going forward? But there is a high cost of carrying that content forward into the new content ecosystem,
Mhm.
the level of granularity that you spoke about, the science of the metadata, the organization. So I think that's an awesome cheat code, which is like, have a threshold where you keep content out and you have a hygienic process for allowing content to come in.
Right. And we are still in part of that planning and deciding. I work with a great team. I've got a great software analyst, my supervisor and my director. We're all sysadmins, and we all work together to help, because I'm the photography SME, so I can give recommendations on that. But software wise, like Marie does that. And then we all kind of make these big decisions together, so I'm very lucky to have them helping me.
I've heard that before too, which is, I mean, it really does take a team to make this successful. There's been folks who've activated digital asset management, and they say, never do it again on your own. Like,
No.
have a proper team, skill sets, and
Yeah, and we all bring our own like gifts to it, because I'm in the digital integration part of it, so we run most all the websites. So I fall under that. This project falls under that. So we all bring our own gifts to that, which is awesome because I've learned things that I never would have known, had I just kept trying to do it by myself. So yeah, don't ever do it alone.
yeah, like bring in, like the more cross departmental, cross functional team members you can bring in.
Absolutely.
Definitely a cheat code there. And you mentioned, and so we talked about volume quite a bit. It was great to get that. The variety of assets that you have, a lot of photography you mentioned, really awesome multimedia experiences that you have. When you think about the variety of different asset types that you need to plan for, even like the non-file based asset types around, certain pieces of copy needing to be used over and over again. What's the variety of assets that you're seeing the organization manage?
I think we came up with a list of about 50 that were mainly used, and graphic design uses a lot of different ones. So we got graphics, video, raw files, JPEGs, TIFFs, PSDs, EPS, uh, text. I'm trying to think of some of the more new, and we're putting our raw files and our XMPs in there. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got XMPs to pull out if you need to pull a raw file too, because photographers want to save their work that they did in camera raw, which that XMP saves. So it's right now it's limited to that. And I haven't seen anybody upload any weird files yet. So, because I would be like, what is that?
Right.
And why did you put that in there?
That's interesting. I mean, potentially, I've seen your digital experiences you put together. Maybe there's, some new, maybe 3D or some
Mhm.
AR potentially that might be
Mhm.
coming down the line. Um, and then also you were hitting on velocity too, which is like the speed through the operation out into market. Are you
Mhm.
finding over the 22 years, even like in recent years, are you seeing the speed equation really be like much more important? Is it the improvements to the operations? Is it the demands that are putting on the department? Is the now accessibility to you can now find things faster, that you can
Mhm.
move them through the cycle? How much has velocity been a factor?
Oh, it's changed tremendously, obviously, because of technology. And also, I mean, we're growing by leaps and bounds. It's just technology has helped with quick turns.
Hmm.
Like instead of a week to get a photographic paper contact sheet done, and you have to come down and look at it, and I marked in a red china marker, which ones we wanted to use for this publication. Like that's days and days. Now you just go, here you go, which one you like. Or
Yeah,
send to FPO, and then I'll retouch it when you're ready. If you decide on this one to use, I'll retouch it, and then I can do that in 5 minutes. Like, well, depending on the project, but yeah, technology has been the main driver, and plus, just we have 3 photographers and a photography creative liaison that also shoots. So we've got 4 channels constantly shooting because I have access to their calendar. It's nuts. I'm like, how are y'all even turning this around? Because I'm seeing it in the dam like a day, less than a day maybe after, depending on the project and what it's for. Because social media obviously goes faster. But yeah, there's been a massive change. And I think it's just growth and also technology has added to that.
yeah, absolutely. One thing I like to ask about is you've got the volume, you've got the speed. Are you thinking about I'll call it the economic factor of things? Meaning, if we're moving faster, if we're moving more materials through the pipe, so to speak, are you keeping like a lens on like the maybe wasteful activities that happen, um, that in terms of like defect minimization or high costs of rework?
Hmm.
What are some of the things that you're able to now manage that in terms of like a quality through a process might be?
Right. Well, that's the great thing about this implementation that we're doing is that we are taking a deep dive, and we're starting with photography just because it's massive, the amount of content we have. Just a deep dive into our processes. Our processes were like from 1980 before.
Yeah.
I mean, before the pandemic, we would get a printed out, it was literally a green sheet with typed on there what people wanted, or what event it was, and then it would go on the right person's desk. So, pandemic, we were like, oh, we'll do PDFs. That's so fancy, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
But just when we restructured our departments, we've added all because we all used to be separate, but now we're all under the same umbrella: creatives, marketers, communicators, patient education, um, and outreach. And so that has helped tremendously because our VP, she had a vision, and she told me, and this, I started looking for new dams in June of 2020. And she was like, this is going to be a meaty project. Like, it's huge. And I was like, yeah. It is. So she knew what she wanted to see and what she had envisioned, and it's working the way she envisioned it. Like it's faster, we're collaborating more. And obviously the DAM and productivity management is a huge part of that.
Hmm.
Especially I can tell a big difference now, even though only about 90 to 100 people, well, about we added phase 2 users. So about 90 to 150 users just entering it in instead of like making a phone call or writing an email back and forth. That's waste time.
Yeah.
Just, do it in Aprimo and then I'll get it and then I'll send it to you through Aprimo. So
Yeah.
it's really it's allowed for more growth, really. And the only thing that the kink is like just the amount that the photographers shoot. Cause I'm like, you're taking up my space, edit hard, edit more, edit more, edit more. But I don't want to lock down their creativity either. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of doing laissez faire, hands off on that right now.
Yeah. That's interesting. Um, the the point you made earlier was around the nature. If we could get to like this, I like to call it veracity or truth in content. You have to, while you have this volume and um, speed to market, and of course the editing processes, this layer of compliance. Can you talk a little bit about this? I like to call it value. You had your processes from the 80s and you have your new processes. Compliance is one of those. I put it in the bucket of as like value added complexity to a process. It's like we need it to be this way for very important compliant reasons. When you went through that transformation, were you able to like sift through the non-value add complexity, keep the value add complexity related to the level of compliance you need to have with your content operations?
Yeah. Luckily, that hasn't changed much because HIPAA started in 1996. So we follow exactly what legal tells us to do. We follow HIPAA compliance. We have, and the new process now, we have a patient liaison office. Is if someone chooses an image with a child in it, I get a notice, and then the liaison office gets a notice because they're the one, they keep up with that. They're like right on the minute of the status of this patient, of the consent, talking to the parents. So that has been a tremendous help to help us keep that compliance and and I consider that just part of our governance plan, or I haven't written it down yet, but it's in my notes. Um, because we didn't have a governance council.
Yeah.
I have one, and there are people in it. They just don't know it yet.
Well, they're going to find out now.
The five of us are meeting this day, every month on a Thursday, right? So, and there's like people I want to get involved that are our super users, like the liaison office. They need to be a part of that to help me. Like, what can I improve? What can I shut down or open up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. It creates almost a organizational learning improvement
Mhm.
forum. So you're on your DAM journey. Some other cheat codes, things that you know now that you didn't know before that you may have done differently had you known it before. Is there any lessons learned from having gone through the process that other
Yeah,
folks might benefit from?
a lot. The main thing is start your change management plan early, like really early.
Like,
Um,
like yesterday?
yeah, like in June 2020 when I first started looking, like everybody knew it was coming, right? But that's not a change plan, a change management plan.
Mhm.
Because we have one now, but it's for the institution. And looking back, I'm like, we should have done this months and months and months ago with just our creatives, even because all of us have been here for a million years. I mean, we've got people from 5 years to 37 years. So, well, the youngest is 2 years, I think. But because we've been working the same way with a structured file folder system for 22 years. And like everybody's like, that is crazy. And I'm like, well, I can find everything. And they're like, yeah, because you've been using it for 22 years. So that is the main thing. And plus just to prepare everybody for the benefits and the changes. And yes, there's going to be a little bit of extra workload while we're layering up those dams until we can finish migration. Also, start with clean data. 20 years ago, maybe, because our old dam was designed for creatives and marketers. So it's not for your average user that wants to search like Google. So we should have, yeah, that's the biggest thing I've learned is because I didn't know what a change management plan was until I, got into the middle of this. And I was like, oh man, we should have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard that before. Obviously, change management's a big one, especially with yours. There's a lot of, we'll call it institutional knowledge that like firmed up over time in people. Now you have the business knowledge in the human verse. It sort of abstract in technology or systems. So that's a risk. You're moving the risk factor around, putting the knowledge into systems more is what it sounds like. And then data is always going to be the friend or the enemy of hygienic operations, insights, intelligence. On that point specifically, I know all the metadata gets checked and validated and enriched. But are there any other data enrichment processes that you've started with activation of a new dam or hygiene cycles or like appending data to make whether that be the metadata or other data uses for assets more improved?
Yes. So we've gotten it to where a lot of the fields in Bridge, Lightroom, and Photo Mechanic and Photoshop, of course, will map over and auto populate. So the photographers and creatives don't have to worry about that part.
Amazing.
And then I go in and enrich it after that. We're still working on a couple of mapping fields for like departments. And there's another one I can't remember off the top of my head. But so that's helped a lot because we really want to make these processes easier. And eventually it will be once we sunset the other one. But yeah, it's just, I'm trying to think of what else we've done. It's just, and also one thing I did learn at DAM New York, our description field, it needs to be alt text. It needs to read like, say, Getty's stock images description, because now it's just an asset number, a date, John Doe, hospitalist, studio portrait. And that's not really user friendly for a visual impaired person that's trying to, pick an image out. It should be, John from the hospitalist program in 1920 or 1920, but like 2002. So they'll be like, oh, that's an old image. Let's request a new headshot. And, well, you know how that works. But accessibility is really the next thing I'm going to be working on and developing a plan for as part of that governance plan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, keyword strategies. I mean, a great place to. There's a whole discipline of that. That I've heard folks spend a lot of a disproportionate amount of their time investing in. Those are great. Thank you. I mean, just a lot of cheat codes in the process. In terms of maybe insight, reporting analytics, consumption data, are you getting any better insight into the usage of content? Whether that be, yeah.
Not at this time, because we have so many specialized asks of reporting, workflows, permissions.
Mm.
We had to get really in there, and they're very specific, very granular. And we're working on getting some new reports generated and made for our needs. So we've only been reporting since July 5th. So I haven't seen those yet,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a training coming up on that soon. Because I was focused more on the DAM side than the reporting and PM side.
Yeah, that was part of my like, what's next for you question. The where do you go? Like, if you're almost like your roadmap, like now that you're here, what are those next few steps in your DAM journey look like? And obviously, reporting, analytics, there's lots of training still going on.
Well, definitely learn more about the PM side, getting certified in that also. Reporting, because I go in there and look around and poke around, because that's how I learn the best, is just getting in there, getting my hands dirty.
Absolutely.
So I've, learned a lot that way, but I'm not sure what our admin specialist is looking for, and I'm not sure which report she uses. But that's my next for me, when, while I'm doing all this other stuff. I want to get that certification.
Yeah, I love that. No, the operational underpinnings of content, when you think about like the cost, time, quality, volume, work management, bringing in technology to help take the work out, and let just sort of like, I call it outsourcing to the machines, the work management system, and just let the folks, the photographers, the editors, the creatives do their best, skilled work, and that's where that next layer of value is going to come from. Love hearing about your story, your mission, your journey. Really excited that you're out speaking about it, Jennifer. Really inspiring, and you're on the Henry Stewart stage. And want to thank you for joining the podcast today, sharing your experiences. If folks want to reach out and learn more about what you're doing, maybe have a conversation with you, where's a good place to and method to get in touch with you?
Probably LinkedIn is the best, just because after DAM New York, like there were so many people that we were just connecting like crazy. So I think LinkedIn has been a really great resource for me for asset management. Just following different people, connecting with different people, reading blogs. I mean, that's another part of my journey, is just to absorb as much as I can from other people and see what they're doing, because it seems kind of like, after talking with people after the panel I was on, like, we're in the exact same boat, so it's good to know that, it's the struggles and the successes, and to be able to share all that with everybody. And obviously for people to know what you're talking about. It's kind of a niche occupation. A lot of people are like, I don't even know. My mom keeps asking me what I do. She's like, she's just a photographer at St. Jude. I'm like, no, that's not.
Yeah. We jokingly talk about we're going to have a bring your parents to work day, and because they don't know what we do here. That's
funny. Because she was like, I never thought you'd end up working with computers. I was like, I never thought I would end up in IT either. Like, I was going to be a fine arts photographer or work for a newspaper. So here I am.
Here you are. That's awesome. Yeah, there's definitely a need for, within the digital asset management space, more community. The meetups are awesome. And I don't know. I'll see what I can do to help out in that. But thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing everything. We're going to have to put some links in here to some of the really cool, you shared with us that awesome multimedia interactive experience.
It's so awesome.
Folks need to see that, so we'll share that out as well.
So good.
Awesome. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so nice to be here and for you to have me here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.